Go. Greetings. If you're like many men, time with Dad may have been uncommon, or late at night, or fun-oriented. Are there other ways to experience a father? This is the Practicing Christian, and this week's report concerns replacing dads. A funny thing happened on the way to our modern world. Somewhere around 1870, the USA went from being a nation in which 96% of our people were farmers or lumbermen back in 1790 to one where only 50% of us were. And now we're down to only about 4% of our people producing all of our food, fiber, and forest products. A complete reversal. But we're still a bit slow on the uptake. Women have always worked on farms and factories and offices, but in the 1940s, large numbers of them began to do work outside of the home. And today it's about 60%. Worldwide, it's also high. About 50% of the world's women work away from home. So we tell ourselves we have a problem with working women. By this, we usually mean women who aren't at home with their kids or their flower gardens. Wrong. We have a problem with working fathers. When the men who quit farming and went to the factories and offices to keep being a source of income for their family, we didn't notice the damage that was being done to our boys. Now, please feel free to reconstruct the old days, the old ways for yourself. Homespun doesn't always itch, the chickens you kill will certainly be fresh, and grooming your horse requires you to get to the hardware store and back in good exercise. And you don't need a telephone anyway. Yeah, we don't want to go back. For millennia, sons learned how to be men from working with their dads and with other men, sailors, farmers, shoemakers, all sorts. They learned about local politics, saving money, how to negotiate, and which girls made poor wives and mothers. It wasn't all about the job. From Dad, we learned about life in its fullness, a life lived with God under God's leadership, and that has, sadly, for most boys, ended. All of this has ended for most boys. Now at 18 or 21, the world is telling us, be a man. And our inner nightmare is often howling, how? How? Having been reared mostly by women, schooled in secular living, graded A through F as individuals and not measured as communities of young men together. Few of us truly learn about life as being a good, responsible man among men. Does this church, your church, teach boys, its boys, how to be men? C'est à rire, as the French would say. That's a joke. Not entirely. Many churches sponsor scouting groups of one sort or another. There are often other ways of doing this that the church engages in as well. There is a desperate need for this sort of training. There are often other ways of doing this. Why do you think so many young men join gangs and so many others go into the military? These are two of the very few ways that boys think they can become men together with their peers. One good father shepherding his son through the Eagle Scouts. In that process, he can be worth a small fortune to that boy, to our society. But let me suggest an approach that's different from what most churches do. Let's say your church wants to make up for much of what so many boys miss on their way to manhood. One of the old ways with kids might be to let them take the family lawnmower and go cut some grass for the neighbors for summer income. Others may get a job at a car wash or at a fast food place. I really suggest that you think bigger than that. Start instead with a group of churchmen with some disposable income. Tell them they are about to fund a startup business with loans for equipment. Get some boys from 12 to 18 who are motivated to make money, to work together, and to learn about being an adult male. No one gets customers automatically. Some of the experienced men may teach the boys how you do this. They don't get the customers for them. No one gives them old equipment to play with. They use their invested money to buy good equipment, money which they know they will need to pay back with interest. Some other men can show them how to do a first-class job of different lawn and garden chores, for example, pruning roses, and do them without wasting time. No kid stuff here. Some churchmen can show them how to keep records. Some others can teach them about maintenance. Others, how to open a Social Security account for this gardening squad. You see, no one learns how to be a man if he doesn't learn to take good care of his tools. Show up on time. No, not on time, but early. Pay back loans. Produce good results. Work by the system's rules, which involve setting some money aside through Social Security for one's old age. Now, millions of kids grow up with the idea, I'll take care of that stuff later. And they carry that idea into middle age when they are still postponing plans for retirement to a later time. Now, they can learn if they need insurance, where and how to store equipment, who safeguards it during the school year, how to recruit new kids into the next summer, etc. Yeah, it's so much easier to give a kid an old mower and see what happens, isn't it? All the absent fathers would agree with you on that. The kids can also learn what to do if one of the boys gets sick on a day that he's cutting the grass of some customer. That's why he's not working alone. He's part of a team. He also may learn what to do when his friends want to head off to the beach. He can learn what it is to fulfill your squad's commitments and play later. This is all about how to become a man, not a coddled, aging boy. What about the girls? Some of them may need this also. Our evidence is that more of them are spending time with a mother who's partly a mom at home and partly a working mom, many of whom involve their daughters in this process. The church shouldn't ignore them, but the male ego is more fragile and more subject to disorientation than the female. They need the training to be a man more than girls need training to be a woman. Best plan is to see if you can get one squad of boys going and doing well. Then see if you can start a girls into women squad. Oh, by the way, I'm using the word squad deliberately. Boys becoming men need to learn how to work with each other. Great skill without the ability to cooperate is a recipe for tragedy. So that business you can help start might even be right there in your church. What if your church, for example, were to start a soup and bread lunch for all Sundays after worship? People enjoying fellowship and learning over chicken soup and the whole wheat muffins. Get the boys to organize and run it, not just do the work. Church pays for the food. The boys organize, plan, order, prepare, wash up, etc. And see, we're talking about boys, not boys and girls, because they will pass this work off to those girls in a New York minute. Perhaps with a tip jar on every table. Have the boys write up a table grace for each table each Sunday. Have some washable items that names can be written on with a felt-tip pen and put people's names out as they sit. Many of them may not know each other. Take photos, Polaroid or digital, selling them to the people who are there for the soup and bread after worship. Now, can you think of equivalents in the Bible? Sure you can. Jesus filled the pattern of early prophets. He had a band of disciples. They had different jobs, like Judas, who was the treasurer for the group, carefully giving out money to the poor and handling the band of disciples' other bills. Some were sent to announce meetings to hear Jesus or for healing. Others cared for the brothers. They brought in food, saw that the laundry got done, and so forth, as called for. And they were learning to become men in the process. Think of boys learning and making wooden furniture, doing computer training, or coding, household maintenance work, etc. Boys who have had this sort of training and experience are ready to step into a church mission or a committee or project without waiting and wondering what to do. They also do better at the jobs that they'll get after their schooling is complete. For that moment anyway, we're always in need of learning and training. Don't hesitate to bring some boys from outside the church into your projects. Working with an avowedly Christian group may stimulate their interest in Christ. They might say to themselves, if God can do these good things with my friends, maybe he can do some good things with me. It's just too bad this group may be the only one he'll ever work with that begins the workday with prayer. What about the girls? Only after the boys have some jobs to do. Girls are already being trained by their often home-based moms to organize, run, innovate, etc. The boys are the deprived and the needy ones. Serve then. Be the king's right arm.